Hello guys and welcome back to TNT Madness. Today we're going to be looking at something extremely important, probably arguably the most important part of a TNT cannon, and that is the propulsion system. So today we're going to be looking at the most efficient ways that you can actually make your propulsion system, and just generally the best ways you can make it the most efficient, the most effective, just resource friendly. Pretty much just the best all around ways to make different propulsion systems for different cannons, whether it's for short range or long range. So that's what I'm going to be doing here today. So the first one we have here is a very basic cannon. It's probably the most basic cannon out of all of them, and I'm sure you've used this or you've seen someone use this somewhere, because it is literally just the most basic cannon ever. So pretty much what happens is when you press the button, the redstone activates all the 9 dispensers, and then as you can see the TNT will get dispensed, but the great thing about this is it goes all the way down to the very front here and then explodes. And the great thing about this is the more efficient it is depending on how close it is to your actual real TNT stuff. So your sand stacker and all that stuff will be in front of here, but your propulsion needs to be as close to that as possible, so that way it can push it further with less TNT, if that makes any sense at all. So that's why we need this as close to here as possible. Whether if we had it way back here, you'd have twice the amount of TNT and it probably wouldn't even get the same range. So this one is roughly about 50 blocks, can shoot about 50 blocks, which is not that great, but it's good for most ranges for pretty much. But anyway, what we have here is the second most common one, and this thing is pretty much the exact same thing as that, except the dispensers are too high. And most people don't know this, or a few people I should say, it's just really a myth, but dispensers, when you press the button and activate the redstone, the block here will get powered. So what happens there is that all the blocks around it will get powered, specifically the one below, so all the 18 dispensers here will get powered. So it pretty much does the exact same thing there, but there's twice the amount of dispensers, so therefore you get twice as much range, because pretty much all you need to increase range is more TNT, but that's the whole point of this, to make it more efficient. So what we have here is my favorite cannon of all, my favorite propulsion system of all, and it's what I like to call the compressor propeller, or just the compressor, pretty much, because it essentially does that, compresses all the TNT into one space, and unlike these ones, they get it nearly all compressed into one spot, but this one gets them all as close to here as possible. So what happens here is when you press the button, these back dispensers will activate, and this water will push all the TNT back down the back, and then the TNT up the front here will get pushed down the stream like so, but before it explodes, this one will activate 2 ticks before it, pushing all the TNT all the way up to here, nudge it right up to the very front here before it can explode, which is absolutely great. And another thing about this is you can have this 5 wide or 6 wide, while these ones you can only have 4 wide, excluding the very front block here, because normally you'll have this here to stop it interacting with the redstone on your main thing. So that's a huge benefit of this, and now we're going to get on to the really big designs. So pretty much what happens is after you get higher than 2, you cannot use the cheeky redstone trick where you put redstone on top of the dispensers, because you have to power every single block. So this makes it a lot more expansive, or it costs a lot more resources, and it becomes quite a bit more complex. So what you have 2 designs is we have the most popular one and the actual one that you should use, the most efficient. In every situation you should use these ones, but I'm going to go over them anyway. So anyway, this first one here is what they call the staircase slabs, where you press the button, it essentially does the same thing, because we have 1 tick here, and then it goes all the way up here into all of these, and that's 2 ticks. But the redstone staircase all the way up, activating all the dispensers. And this is absolutely fine, but this one on the side here uses less resources, because you're doing pretty much the same thing, but redstone torches, they power these dispensers too, but they also power the dispensers down here. They also do that with pistons. So what this allows us to do is power each of these blocks individually, and you don't have to have tons of repeaters like there. There's also a few other advantages, like you have the space here, like I did in my compactly and arch cannon, where I used the space underneath here to actually use less space, because that was the whole point of that, to try and make it as compact as possible. And another great thing is redstone torches are a lot cheaper than repeaters, and you don't actually use as much redstone. You pretty much use the same amount, but you just have to use a lot less space. So that's really the 2 things about this. But the great thing about these is this one over here can shoot roughly 100, that one can shoot 50, this one can shoot roughly 150 to 200. This one can shoot way over 300, so this one is going to be a big boy cannon for when you want to shoot really far. I used this design over here for my long-range hybrid cannon, which as you can see can shoot really far, and if you don't have a hybrid it can shoot a lot further too. And what we have over here is just pretty much just the odd one out. The only difference it has here is it is 6 wide instead of 5 wide, because this one is 5 wide and it does the same thing as the compressed cannon, but thanks to this being 6 wide it actually has a few different properties. You actually have to have this thing too high for it to have the same effect of TNT to go down to the end here, because it just doesn't bring it quite far enough. And another great thing is these work really well for 1.8.8, because your fence at the end here, if you don't want to use a pressure plate, it will just sit there. The TNT will come all the way up to it and it will just sit there. So that's a great thing about this, and it is really the only point of this. So anyway, hope you guys did enjoy this video. It is sort of a shorter one, but there's not really too much you can go on this topic, and you don't really need to do a tutorial. And don't worry, I will have a world download, because most of you will probably want to have a look at these and just have them as a reference, so I will have that world download in the description below. But anyway, I hope you guys did enjoy this video, and one thing I'd like to say before I go is thanks for all the support on my server. It is just going extremely well, and I honestly am just overwhelmed, and it's great to have everything done. But anyway, goodbye from TNT Madness.